Imagine a city
Yeah.
completely cut off under constant attack,
Yeah.
dwindling food and medicine.
Right.
But in the midst of all that,
Mm-hmm.
a symphony orchestra is playing to raise the spirits of the people.
Oh, wow.
That's the story of the Siege of Leningrad,
Really?
one of the most brutal sieges of World War II.
Wow.
Today, we're going to do a deep dive into this siege.
Okay.
We'll be drawing from historical accounts and even some personal stories
Mm-hmm.
to really try to understand the impact of this siege.
Yeah.
You'll hear about acts of resilience,
Yeah.
the devastating cost of war,
Right.
and the spirit of those who lived through it.
Yeah.
You know, for many of you listening,
Mm-hmm.
your parents or grandparents may have been touched by World War II.
That's right.
So this deep dive is a chance to reflect on the past
Yeah.
and consider its echoes in our present.
Very interesting.
Let's set the stage.
Okay.
It's 1941 in Leningrad.
Mm-hmm.
Hitler's invasion of the Soviet Union catches a lot of people off guard.
Yeah.
The city, a symbol of Soviet pride,
Right.
becomes a prime target.
Wow.
We'll share Maria's story.
Oh.
She's a school teacher who is desperately trying to evacuate children as bombs rain down.
Oh, gosh.
Her story
Okay.
personalizes the immediate chaos and the fear that people were going through.
So the Germans completely encircle the city, right?
They do.
Cutting off the supply lines?
That's right.
They cut off the supply line.
Now, there was this road of life over a frozen lake
Okay.
that becomes a lifeline for the city.
Yeah.
But it was a very dangerous journey.
I can imagine.
We'll focus in on the realities of daily life,
Yeah.
dwindling rations,
Right.
bitter cold,
Yeah.
and the ever-present threat of shelling.
Gosh.
Over 1 million soldiers and civilians died during the siege.
Oh, my goodness.
Can you just imagine that?
Staggering number.
It's hard to even fathom.
Yeah.
Now, amidst all of this,
Yeah.
in August 1942,
Mm-hmm.
Dmitri Shostakovich's Leningrad Symphony premiered
Wow.
inside the besieged city. We're going to describe the emaciated orchestra,
Yeah.
the conductor Karl Eliasberg,
Okay.
and the unique challenges that they faced
Yeah.
in performing during this chaos.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
how do you even begin to prepare for something like that?
I know, and the Soviets even launched a special attack
Right.
to silence the Germans during the performance
What?
so that the symphony could go on uninterrupted.
Oh, wow. Can you imagine an orchestra with musicians so weakened by hunger
Right.
that they can barely even stand?
Gosh.
Some are even playing instruments repaired with whatever scraps they could find, and yet
Oh.
they play Shostakovich's music,
Yeah.
filled with both sorrow and defiance,
Mhm.
resonated through that besieged city, a
That's-
beacon of hope in the darkest of times.
I mean, the city was under constant bombardment, right?
It was.
Did the Germans try to stop the performance?
They did. The Germans were always shelling Leningrad,
Yeah.
but on that particular night, the Soviets actually launched a special counteroffensive,
Wow.
specifically timed
Yeah.
to silence those German guns during the symphony.
Oh my gosh.
Think about that.
Yeah.
The lengths they went to, the
Wow.
risks they took,
Yeah.
just so their people could experience a moment of beauty,
Right.
of shared humanity
Wow.
in the midst of all that suffering.
That's powerful.
It really is.
It really speaks volumes about the importance of art,
I think so.
of music,
Yeah.
in lifting the human spirit even in the darkest of times.
It really does.
It wasn't just symbolic though, right?
No, it wasn't.
I mean, the performance was broadcast
Yeah,
over the radio across the entire Soviet Union.
that's right.
It even reached allied nations.
And it became this rallying cry,
Wow.
a testament to the resilience of the people of Leningrad
Mm.
and their determination to resist Nazi aggression.
So even in their darkest hour,
Yeah.
they found a way to project their strength,
Right.
their spirit to the world.
Exactly.
Truly remarkable.
Hmm?
But the siege went on
It did.
for a long time.
It did.
And the Soviets were constantly looking for ways to break it right.
They were.
They wanted to push back the German lines,
Yeah.
relieve the pressure on Leningrad.
Yeah.
In February 1943,
Mm-hmm.
they launched this major offensive.
Right.
It was aimed at widening the supply corridor,
Mm-hmm.
a desperate battle for a small town called Krasny Bor.
Yeah, I've read about that.
This was a particularly brutal battle, right?
It was.
Even by the standards of the Eastern Front.
That's right. The fighting was just fierce.
What can you tell us about it?
Well, the Germans were dug in. They
Right.
were reinforced by Spanish volunteers, actually,
Right.
who had joined the fight against communism.
Wow.
They were determined to hold their position.
Mm-hmm.
The Soviet commander,
Yeah.
General Spiridov,
Yeah.
he was known for his ruthless tactics,
Oh.
often sacrificing his own men in pursuit of victory.
And what did that look like in practice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for instance, Spiridov actually ordered the bombardment of a hospital
Right.
that was being used by the Germans as a command post.
No.
It was a very controversial decision,
Yeah.
to say the least.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It was a violation of the laws of war,
Right.
but it also highlights the brutal realities of the Eastern Front,
Right.
where victory often came at a terrible price.
It certainly did in this case.
It did.
Nearly 10,000 Soviet soldiers were killed in the battle for Krasny Bor.
Wow.
A testament to the ferocity of the fighting
Yeah.
and the high cost of even a tactical victory.
Right.
It's a stark reminder that war, even when fought for a just cause,
Yeah.
leaves a trail of destruction
That's right.
and heartbreak.
Yes, it does.
And despite all the sacrifices made at Krasny Bor, the Siege of Leningrad continued.
It did.
The Soviets had gained some ground,
Yeah.
but the Germans were determined to break the city's resistance.
Right.
It would be almost another year
Mm-hmm.
before Leningrad was finally liberated.
That's right.
January 1944,
Yes.
after 872 days of unimaginable suffering,
Right.
the siege was finally lifted.
Yeah.
What must that moment have been like
Oh.
for the people of Leningrad?
I can only imagine the sense of relief.
Yeah.
The joy must have been just overwhelming.
Yeah.
Imagine emerging from your shelter,
Right.
stepping out into the sunlight
Yeah.
after years of darkness,
Wow.
seeing the German forces finally retreating.
It's hard to imagine.
It is.
General Leonid Govorov,
Yes.
the commander of the Leningrad front,
Right.
he led the victory celebration in the heart of the city,
Yeah.
a symbol of triumph over adversity.
But there's another side to that story. The victory celebrations were juxtaposed against a backdrop of unimaginable devastation.
Right.
Leningrad, once a vibrant city, lay in ruins.
Yeah.
Buildings were reduced to rubble.
Oh,
Streets were scarred by shelling.
Right.
And the full extent of the human toll was still unknown.
So even in victory, the scars of war ran deep.
They certainly did.
It makes you wonder how you even begin to rebuild your life after an experience like that.
It's a question that likely haunted the survivors for years to come.
Yeah.
The physical rebuilding was daunting enough,
Right.
clearing the rubble, restoring essential services. But the emotional and psychological scars,
Yeah.
those ran even deeper.
Right.
The trauma of constant bombardment,
Yeah.
the gnawing hunger, the loss of loved ones.
Of course.
These things don't simply disappear when the guns fall silent.
Did the historical accounts that you studied touch on this aspect of the aftermath at all?
They did.
How did the people of Leningrad cope?
Well, many accounts speak to the long shadow the siege cast over the city and its people.
Yeah.
There was a profound sense of loss,
Right.
a collective grief for the lives lost
Of course.
and the city they once knew.
Yeah.
Many survivors struggled with PTSD,
Right.
anxiety and depression.
Understandably so.
Food scarcity continued to be a problem for years after the siege.
Oh.
But there was also resilience,
Yeah.
a determination to rebuild not just the city, but their lives as well.
So amidst the devastation,
Mm-hmm.
there were these glimmers of hope,
There were.
of the human spirit's ability to endure and to rebuild.
Absolutely.
That's incredible.
People came together to clear the rubble, to
Yeah.
share what little food they had,
Wow.
to support each other through that long process of healing.
It's a striking parallel to the symphony we discussed earlier.
Isn't it?
Shostakovich's music
Yeah.
became a symbol of defiance during the siege.
Right.
But in the aftermath, it took on this whole new meaning.
It did.
It became a symbol of hope,
Yeah.
of renewal,
Uh-huh.
of the city's determination to rise from the ashes.
Exactly.
It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times,
Yeah.
art, music,
Mm-hmm.
these things can help us find meaning,
Absolutely.
solace,
Yeah.
and a path forward.
I agree.
And for our listeners, many of whom might have parents or grandparents who lived through those war years,
Right.
this story might spark some personal reflections.
It might.
It's a chance to connect with history on a deeper level,
For sure.
to perhaps understand a bit more about what their families might have endured.
Exactly.
The Siege of Leningrad stands as a stark warning
Yeah.
against the horrors of war,
Yes.
a testament to human resilience,
Mm-hmm.
and a reminder that even in the face of unimaginable suffering, hope can endure.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
This deep dive into the Siege of Leningrad has been truly eye-opening,
It has.
a blend of heartbreak and inspiration.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that history isn't just about dates and battles.
Yeah.
It's about people,
Mm-hmm.
their stories,
Yes,
their struggles,
that's right.
their triumphs.
Exactly.
And it compels us to ask ourselves what lessons we can learn from the past.
Yeah.
How can we ensure that such atrocities are never repeated?
It's a question we should all grapple with.
Well said. If you found this deep dive into the Siege of Leningrad compelling, we encourage you to subscribe for more explorations of history science. And the human experience will continue to bring you fascinating stories, thought-provoking insights, and a deeper understanding of the world around us. Thanks for listening.